I'm Lisa.
And this is the Paid Media Playbook, where we talk to marketing professionals about their challenges, tactics, and triumphs.
Join us here at Double Z Media for weekly conversations about media strategies for marketing leaders.
Welcome, Erika Hermanson. Erika is the Director of Communications at Providence, Swedish. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. So, Erika, tell us a little bit about how you got into communications. What started your passion for comms?
Oh, we're going way back machine here. I went to a really small high school in North Snohomish County and had a wonderful business teacher when they still had business teachers. And she encouraged me to join the group Future Business Leaders of America. And I just was enamored with the group and the travel, going to conferences and learning about how to express yourself in written word and express yourself in graphics, and decided then and there that I wanted to be in communication. So it goes all the way back to high school. And
That's awesome.
Thank you, Future Business Leaders of America.
That's awesome. A lot of times I feel like we hear with the marketing industry in general, people get to college and think, okay, well, now how do I get a job later? Like, it's so exciting to hear that you have a passion for the work.
Oh, yes. I think I was born to be a communicator. Yeah, and I went off to Pacific Lutheran University and studied under the late, great Cliff Rao and Sheila Colon, and she's still with us, and just had an amazing experience learning about communication, news writing, editing, public relations, and I was off to the races after that.
Now, how is it working in healthcare? I mean, this has got to be tough. I know that Virginia Mason had recently gone through some issues with privacy and that sort of thing. Do you guys have the same sort of issues with your agency, for example? Like, I know that some patient had sued all these people that we typically work with, like Google, and they went through a crisis. And I'm not asking you to necessarily comment on that, but do you come on into the same issues?
Yeah, I can't comment about what
course.
Virginia Mason
Of course,
has gone through, but yeah, the healthcare has been through a real significant, challenging time for the last several years. We are coming up on the 5th year of COVID. The hospital I support, Providence Regional Medical Center, Everett, just acknowledged the 5-year anniversary of the first known COVID patient in the country, and that patient was first seen at our hospital in Everett. So yeah, there are crises happening all the time. Some of them I end up touching, and some of them, are just in different departments or how other different groups are handling it. But there's always something to keep things interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So what are some of the most recent that you're kind of proud of, some of the accomplishments that you've done recently that you want to talk about that Providence has done?
Yeah, so Providence, Swedish, and in particular Providence Regional Medical Center, Everett, has, saw the first COVID patient. We had staffing issues. There are not as many nurses and other clinicians coming through the system and coming up. We had a work stoppage and a lot of stories in the paper that maybe didn't put our hospital in the best light. And so one of the things that I'm really, really proud of is trying to regain the trust of not only our community and the people that we care for each and every day, but also for our own caregivers, to acknowledge that they're amazing and they're wonderful and they have amazing stories, and that they're valued and they're loved. And this kind of goes beyond the whole healthcare heroes thing that has kind of become a little bit trite and, still very important, but it's just, it was used a lot during the early days of COVID. And so I am particularly proud of this campaign that we're rolling out right now have been rolling out. It's called Proudly Providence Swedish. And it is a campaign that features our own caregivers celebrating what drew them into the organization, what drew them to Snohomish County to practice medicine, practice their craft, and what drew them to stay and what keeps them there. And so we developed this campaign that tells their stories, why they had their cancer treatment at our hospital, why they entrusted their care to their own colleagues, why, a nurse stays at Providence Swedish because of the education benefits. So using, in a very polite way, our own caregivers to tell their stories on what makes it a great place to give or receive care.
That's a great idea. I love that. That makes it super meaningful.
Yeah.
To both sides. Yeah. To both the patient and the staff.
We live in such a beautiful community that the stories themselves are set in our community. We've featured, our beautiful mountains and our beautiful waters, and, to bring the outside in to our hospital as well as our caregivers out to the rest of the community.
Can you tell us a little bit about which platforms you're focusing on to get this campaign out to people?
Yeah, so we have been using paid social as well as connected TV.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also done some organic social and signage inside the hospital, leading people to see these stories for themselves on our website. So those are the primary media placements. We also have environmental graphics scattered throughout our hospital, and
Right.
one really big one that's going to be coming soon once Mother Nature cooperates and it is warm enough and dry enough for us to put a very large sign outside our hospitals.
Oh, nice.
That's such an important piece, especially when you've put so much time and thought into a campaign like this. You don't want someone to have to stumble upon it, right? You want to make sure
Right.
people actually are hearing what your coworkers have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Have you noticed, you mentioned you've used both organic and paid social. Something that we've heard quite a bit is how, assuming, paid social, Meta, probably Facebook and Instagram is one of the big ones, just the way they are deprioritizing organic messaging to sort of force brands to focus on paid social more and more on their platform. Is that something that you've noticed in your own work as well?
Yeah, organic social is just like it's one and done.
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't reach the audience that we really want to reinforce our message with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Now those days have sailed by when
Yep.
it really meant that if you had followers.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I know, even your own followers, right? I think the metric we saw recently was something like 11% of your followers on Instagram will see your organic posts. Just abysmally low. Yeah.
No, it's not bad.
It probably depends on the brand too, right? A local brand probably has a little bit better chances than a national one, but
Mhm.
And how much they engaged,
Mhm.
are they're engaging back and forth too.
Yeah, absolutely. The other big pitfall of social media is, of course, that it is a communicative platform, right? It's not like connected TV where you're saying, here is our message, you can't skip it, wait 30 seconds. What are the considerations you have when it comes to managing comments and responses on a platform like Meta?
That is actually handled by a whole other team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a whole department that
yeah.
does that work.
Mhm.
I mean, I will take a look at when
Yeah.
we post something, I always do
Mhm.
a cursory look at what is
Yeah.
being said. But yeah, that's kind of a different team who would talk about that.
Well, but you
Yeah.
can't have one without the other, right? If you're doing robust organic posts, that would just be miserable if you didn't
Right.
have someone to look at it for you.
Right, right. Yeah, we have a group that handles that and escalates if
Mhm.
we have a really angry patient or something that someone has said that is really undermining our message, and if there's something going on in the community or
Mhm.
a bigger story that we might be working on or trying to support, we keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It kind of is case by case, and I can't.
Yeah. No, of course. Yeah.
It looks like you had your own marketing firm prior to working with Providence Swedish. How was that? It looks like you had a lot of healthcare. How nice.
Yeah. Well, I am really indebted forever to Larry Asher from Worker Bees, who called me up out of the blue. I had my 2 young children, and my youngest was 7 months old, and wanted to keep my toe in the door, but didn't want to work 1,000 hours at not 1,000 hours, but 60-hour weeks, 50-hour weeks with little ones at home. And so I started my own business, and I'm indebted to Larry Asher at Worker Bees for calling me up and asking me if I wanted to come work on the Swedish account. And that started a wonderful relationship, not only with Larry and the Worker Bees team, but also with these people who are now my colleagues at Swedish and Providence. And who knew one phone call could change the rest of my life.
I love that. I love those stories. Yeah. So you don't really miss having your own gig that much, or you're kind of happy because you have this kind of, like you said, a little more time, flexibility, insurance.
All those things. Don't have to pitch business anymore.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I know as a business owner myself, you're always trying to kind of fill the funnel. Nothing's guaranteed. And
Well, I consulted for Worker Bees and then directly with Providence for a while, and I really fell in love with our mission and our values.
Yeah.
And the genuineness of my colleagues and the work that we do to make sure that not only our patients receive great care, but also that our caregivers are cared for. And so I just really felt like this organization was in alignment with my values.
I love that.
Yeah.
What was it like, working with Swedish from the agency side and then transitioning in-house? Was it kind of weird, or was it seamless?
There were some weird things, but it's just very subtle, like shifting from a Mac to a PC and how meetings are set up on the inside versus how they were. I mean, it was just difficult, just in the sense of trying to learn a new system. But I knew a lot of the people on the comms team and the marketing team. And so that helped ease my way, to use a Providence term, ease my way.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. But it actually was just natural, I feel.
Oh, that's great. I love that. I know people who have done that, like left the agency world to go, and some people go back and forth their whole life. I think, you found your calling and your people.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to talk a little bit about our values.
Yes.
I think I've worked in a lot of organizations, even before I had my own thing, that didn't really have a well-defined mission or values. And Providence has 5 values that I lean into every single day when I'm drafting communication. And we have an acronym, Compassion Jedi. So it's compassion, J, justice, E, excellence, D, dignity, I, integrity. And so anytime I'm faced with any sort of communication challenge, whether it's a happy message that I need to get out, or even a harder, more heart-wrenching message that I need to get out, I can lean into those values and draft content and messages that are in alignment with those, no matter what the message is. So I just feel really fortunate to have that playbook, so to speak, to help me do my job.
Yes, to have that, it's like healthy boundaries or something. You know exactly where everything aligns. Does that align? Does that align? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I've learned a lot about Providence Swedish today. I have. I have my daughter at Ballard Swedish, but that was a long time ago.
Me too. That's where my babies were born too.
Yeah, they had a birthing suite up in the top. I don't have that anymore, but That was nice. It was all quiet up there. It was mellow. At least when I was there, it was like, this is mellow.
Yeah, it was so great. And I guess that was maybe my first taste of healthcare communication, because it was like, had my babies there, and then I worked with worker bees on a campaign of Born in Ballard, and so that we made these little window clings that said Ballard baby on board. That was, and then we had outdoor boards with wonderful, beautiful pictures of the babies that were born there. So, yeah.
Do you find that you interact with communications messages differently, like ones that are directed to you as a consumer, now that you know what it's like on the other side?
Oh, yes. And I'll see like taglines that organizations use, and some of them just make me cringe.
Yeah.
Like there was one, Avis, we try harder. Well, geez, don't try. Just do. You know?
Well, yeah. They were, that's because they were second, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, they were like second, and they were like, we're number 2, so we have to try harder. And I know. That was very
so
good.
I think have a little bit of more of a critique. My daughter might say I'm judgy.
There's a certain point where you can't help it. I mean, you've just seen a lot, and at least for me, I have an opinion. Yeah. But then again, that's why they hire us, right? Because we do have that acumen and that opinion and that like conviction, like, oh no, that isn't going to work. I promise you.
Yes. Or who are you paying to help you not look around corners with this crisis or what have you? And I'm not saying that we are perfect by any stretch, but it's, we have to look around corners all the time, and how our messages are going to land with our caregivers or with the public or the media, whomever.
How do you, like as a leader in communications, how do you learn more? How do you stay on top of things? Are there certain things that you do, networking or publications or, blogs or podcasts? What makes you feel like you're not in a silo?
Well, I just went to my first MCEI meeting, and that was just like, whoa.
I heard about that group. Matter of fact, I was there.
I know. I think we were at the same table. So that was wonderful. We do some lunch and learns internally with our own caregivers to try to learn from each other. I encourage my team also to, like, if they go to a seminar or they are in a graduate program, like how can we help rise all tides? But mostly my podcasts have nothing to do with comms, because I just need a break.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like very basic. Like I do the daily and hidden brain, and like, I'm like, I have a dating one too, but we won't talk about that.
That's another podcast.
Yes. Disasters in dating. Anyway.
So now we would like you to imagine that you could go back in time. Oh. And if you could give yourself at the beginning of your career one piece of advice, what would it be?
Negotiate your first salary.
Mm.
I did not get any counsel on how to negotiate my first salary. And that set the platform for where my salary will be the rest of my life. That was the ground floor. And especially women, we're not trained, we're not counseled. And when you are given a job offer, you are the one that holds the cards. And so my very first job, I wish that I had said, thank you. Let me go home and get a sharp pencil and run the numbers, instead of just being so excited to be like, yes.
Yeah, I know. I remember that.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time I was like listening to my friends talk, and they're like, well, I have to be at least here. And I'm like, I wasn't there. Shit.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. If I had just asked for, I know.
Yeah. And that's the ground floor from which all of our salaries are built from there on. And, I know men that I came out of school with in different fields, of course, who came out with much, much, much higher salaries, who are in a different place.
So. Some states are working on asking for salary history, making that illegal to try to prevent some of that inequality, which is pretty cool. But
in Washington State, they have to post what the range is for better or worse. Yeah.
But baby steps, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Erika, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us. This has been so educational for me, at least.
Absolutely. Me too. It was nice to get to know you better. I hope I see you at MCI soon.
Thanks for listening to the Paid Media Playbook. Want more content like this? Follow our agency, Double Z Media, on LinkedIn. You can find the link in the episode description.